Hey everyone, it's Foxx from Model Making Guru here, and welcome back to part 4 of our build of the 1/60th scale no grade strike Gundam. Now, all the gloves today. What are we doing? We are painting the inner frame parts metallic. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you will know traditionally what I will tend to do is paint the inner frame parts Tamiya gunmetal, then dry brush them with Tamiya chrome silver and get that lovely silvery look, the sort of like a soft metal colour rather than a brushy metal colour or a flaky metal colour. Not going to be doing that. Today we are going to use something new. Now you probably can't read this because even I have trouble reading it and it's right in front of me. Shiny label, it's Mr. Metal Colour Iron. It's from Mr. Hobby, also it's sometimes from Gunsei Sangyo or sometimes from Krios. But it's Mr. Metal Colour, not Mr. Colour, because that's just normal acrylic paint, and not Mr. Metal Super, because that's something else. This is Mr. Metal Colour. It's a buffable paint. It's also lacquer, which means it's basically a small jar of death if you inhale it. So what we're going to do, and we don't like death. We try and avoid death if we can. It's best. So we're going to keep flashing this around like that so it keeps blinding you. We're going to take the parts, we're going to cover them in this, and I'm going to show you how to buff it and get a cool metallic effect. It does have some limitations, I'll go over that in the end. But I'm going to have to wear the mask of breathing, or the mask of little breathing problems, while I spray, so I can't talk you through it. So I'll have to do a voiceover. So stand by for maximum compression, low frequencies avoided, voiceover. So I shall go and get everything ready. I've got a selection of parts to do today. There's some that have just been reprimed, so they're just drying. So I'm going to do a few today. And I'll do a part, and then I'll show you buffing this part, or a part, and show you how it comes out. Now this probably will suck because it's a metallic colour, it's going to be shiny, so I can't guarantee you won't be either massively overblown and overexposed to show it, or really, really dark. So yeah, the joys of using a phone as your camera with not particularly good lighting sources. Anyway, let's go to the spray booth and crack the heck on. Right, all those parts have now been painted with the Mr. Metal colour, and you'll notice they're not metallic at all, they're just grey. So I'm just letting these dry for a minute. Now, I didn't really have a chance to tell you any of this while I was filming. Like I say, I was having to wear a mask. So if you're going to use Mr. Metal colour paints, there are some things you must do. Now, I have a responsibility to keep you safe, so I need to make you aware of these. And this goes for any lacquer-based paints. First of all, they stink. I mean, you will smell it. I had my mask on and I could smell them. Generally, if something smells really bad, it's probably dissolving your lungs. So, first and foremost, as I've said before, if you're going to use anything like lacquer paints, you must, absolutely must use a respirator. Not a dust mask, a respirator. I'll show you my respirator. This is my respirator I showed you in the other video. It's a 3M respirator. It has filters on it, which I need to change actually. It's designed to protect you against particulates and vapours and dust. So if you go to B&Q or a hardware store and you buy a decorating dust mask, you will poison yourself. You will probably cause yourself irreparable damage over the long term, because this stuff is horribly caustic, hot, dissolving, nasty. So you must wear a respirator. You must work in a well ventilated area, ideally have a spray booth, or if not, do it outdoors. But even if you're outdoors, still wear a mask. The other thing as well is you need to make sure you have the right kind of airbrush. Now these paints are incredibly thick. As you saw in that video, I was trying to pour it down the mixing stick into the paint cup and it was going everywhere because it's so thin. So you don't need a massive nozzle on your airbrush, but the one thing you must make sure your airbrush is solvent proof. When you clean your airbrush out, the only thing that will clean this stuff, apart from lacquer thinners, I'm using isopropyl alcohol, IPA, what Americans might call, if you could see it, either isopropanol or rubbing alcohol. You might call it 99% rubbing alcohol. Same kind of thing. It's pretty much the only thing you can clean your airbrush with if you're going to clean it out, unless you're using things like lacquer thinners, but they're just as bad as the lacquer paints. And isopropanol or 99% rubbing alcohol or IPA is actually not that expensive. You can get it on Amazon or eBay. So yeah, you're going to have to clean your airbrush out with that. Now the problem with that is, if I put that through my water Neo, it would eat away all the seals inside, all the little rubber seals, just go within a few uses, they'd just be ruined. So I had to use my Iwata Revolution, which is solvent proof. So if you're not sure, look up your airbrush online, see if it's solvent proof, if it has PTFE or PFE seals. It will say, most airbrushes will tell you if they're solvent proof or not. If it's not solvent proof, don't even bother trying to use this kind of paint, because what you clean it out with will just destroy your airbrush. So always wear a mask, spray in a spray booth or outdoors if you can, or in a very well ventilated room, and use IPA or lacquer thinners to clean it out, but make sure your airbrush is solvent proof. Right, sudden jump cut there because the piece I was filming didn't come out as planned. Okay, so we're going to buff this piece. So you can see it's this dark grey colour. Yeah, German grey. However, let's try and turn it into something else. Take your cotton bud, and just do this. You'll see how the grey colour is magically transformed with the simple act of rubbing. As are most things in life, it becomes much better. Now I'm just giving it a very gentle rub to start with. Nothing major. I'm not putting really any pressure on at all. And you can already see it's taken on a more metallic, shiny aspect. Now you will go through a lot of cotton buds. Mark you me, get loads of cotton buds. So just give it a rub. You can see just straight away, let's do it on this bit. Apologies for the lighting, it's a bit ropey, but it's what happens when you deal with a grey thing that becomes a shiny silver thing. So I'm just going to give it a light rub first of all. Try and use the side of the Q-tip or the cotton bud rather than the end, because I've done a few scratches here and there. So you can see it just becomes a little more metallic-y. However, that's not as far as we can take it. Let's take it even further. Let's get a new cotton bud. Put a bit more pressure on this time. You can get quite handy with it. Put a lot more pressure on. The way these things basically work is that you're putting down tiny metal particles in the carrier solution, and as the carrier solution dissolves and evaporates away, you're left with the metallic particles. And by buffing them, they're all kind of random here, so it's all kind of matte and not shiny. When you buff them, you kind of line them up in random but a little more ordered ways, and it changes it, and you get the light reflecting. Now when you put a gloss varnish over this stuff, of course, you're taking probably a slightly chaotic surface that's reflective in its own right, or a slightly chaotic surface that will be normally matte but it's made of reflective particles, and you're putting a gloss coat over it which makes everything flat and smooth and uniform. And that's why when you put a gloss varnish over a metallic, 99% of the time it will dull the shine and it'll just look like shiny grey plastic. So the downside of this kind of thing is, with a few exceptions, there's very little you can seal this stuff with. Anything like Pledge or Future or whatever that you try and cover this with, it will just make it look, well, I'll show you exactly what it'll look like. It'll look like that. That's this covered in Pledge, and on camera it might look the same, but in reality, no, it's not got that. It just looks like shiny grey plastic. So, meh. So I may have to leave this unprotected, but as long as you're doing it on places where there's not going to be a lot of hand-holdy traffic, or ideally not a lot of moving parts, which is why I had to sand these back to make them fit a bit better, give it more space to move, you should be okay. Does mean when I matte varnish anything else though, if I do any kind of top coats or gloss coats, I'm going to have to make sure that I do those parts off the model. Like if I do any of the armour, I have to make sure they're not in place when I do them. Okay, so you can see there now, I don't know if it'll come out on camera, but it's much more metallic and shiny, but because I didn't do a factory finished sanding job, there are still some imperfections in the surface. And that just gives it that more natural metal look. Some of this grey fuzz is still there in those little pits. Like there's a few scratches. Don't know if it'll come out on camera. I'm just going to zoom in. Where are we? There. There's just one there. You can see a little scrape, which is just me when I was doing something. I scraped it with the end of the cotton bud or with a knife or something like that when I was sanding it. And because that's still there, it just looks like a natural scrape in a shiny metal. Now if I do this bit, I'd started on this part here, so we'll just give this a good buff. Now remember, this is the bit that I filled with the glue. Well, out of shot. This is the bit I filled with the glue, and I did a lot of sanding on there as well, some quite heavy sanding. So what I'm hoping is it'll come out nice and smooth and shiny with no seam line, but it'll also come out slightly pitted and scarred, and that's the sanding marks. But in this case I don't mind them because it makes it look like metal that's been used. So if I just give that a go, let's have a look. Apologies if that's all off camera. So the shine won't really come out on camera because the camera can't cope with it, but you can see there's no seam line, but we do have, for example, here a little pit left by some glue where there was no glue, and that looks like a little ding in the metal. And then all the way along you can see little, see if I can get the light right on this, you probably can't, little scratches and scrapes. Can't really get it into shot for you. Little sort of nicks and scrapes that just make it look like an actual metal surface. Now the camera is not doing this. Let me just zoom back out again. The camera, is that zoomed out? Can't be zoomed out. Hang on. Hang on. There we go. Get it focused for you. The camera is not doing this justice at all. What you're seeing on screen does not look like what I'm seeing here. What I'm seeing here looks like actual metal. And this stuff is great. Despite the health hazards and all the, the horrible, noxious, chemically nonsense, it just comes out looking great. Like in there you can see in that grill where the grey stuff is still there because I haven't rubbed it off because I can't get into it with the cotton bud. But that's great because it's a vent, so it looks like a vent. Now yeah, they're not being able to clear coat it is a limitation. As I said before, AK Interactive's Gauzy, G-A-U-Z-Y, apparently can go over metallic finishes without destroying the metallic sheen. However, I have also heard tell that after a while it tends to flake and come off. And I rather amusingly, I won't mention names, but I rather amusingly watched a video where the chap was saying, yeah, this stuff's really, really great, but it might come off the model after a bit. Apparently, possibly, people are telling me. But don't let that put you off, still go and get it and use it. It's like, well, why would I use it if it's going to come off the model? That's totally not any use to me at all. Why would I want to use something that I know is going to come off? So yeah, I mean, Alclad's Aqua Gloss and their lacquer clear coats, I don't know, I don't use them. This is the first time I've used actual lacquer based paints, and given the smell and the fact that I only did it for about 20 minutes and I already feel a bit woozy, and that's with a respirator mask and the spray booth, yeah, I'm not going to make a habit of using lacquers, especially because it stinks the house out as well. So the mother is downstairs, she's not the most amused that the house now smells like a car body shop. Hooray! Sorry, Mum. So anyway, you can see here, a light rub will get it nice and clean. A harder rub will get it even more shiny and more metallic. You'll get, because I'm using cotton buds, I'm getting some natural scratches and scrapes from the cotton bud. That's great. I don't want a nice uniform surface. I'm not making a pristine factory fresh machine, I'm making something that's been out and about. So it's got some pitting, it's got some dings, it's got some tarnishing, it's got some variation to the colour of the metal. It's not just shiny silver. Do this bit and then I'll crack on with the rest. I've got to go make me tea. I actually did this and then realised I'd got to make me tea, so I'm starving. Now for this bit, you'll see what I did when I filmed it, as I painted it like that and then moved it forward and added the extra. I'm just hoping there isn't any natural scraping of paint. I mean, thankfully if there is, it will come out grey, so it may just, like, if I'm lucky, what I'm hoping is if there are only bits where paint scrapes off, it just looks like grey scraping. So, we'll see. So yeah, and you can work this stuff for a while. I think, you know, I did some the other day, that little test piece I did before I gloss varnished it and ruined it. I posted it up on the Facebook page. It's a spare leg off the Giara Zulu, get my words out. You know, I did that and then I was quite impressed with it. Then I went back an hour later and thought, let's give it some more buffage. Went back even firmer and it was still buffable. So I would say with this stuff, if you're going to use it, once you've done this and you've done all your buffing, leave it for, I don't know how long you're supposed to leave it before you can do anything with it. I'm going to be using like a water-based clay wash over this. I think I'm not going to use any, I might not use anything else like oil paints or enamels, because I don't know what they'll do to the lacquers. If it takes these 6 weeks to fully cure, then I go and use oil paints or enamels and thinners and things. It's just going to make ass. So I'll probably leave it and just use water-based ones for these parts, because that should be fairly harmless. But I would say, just to be safe, because I don't really know, leave it at least, you know, 5 days a week before you go and do anything else with it, just to be safe. I mean, this stuff is still buffable and it has been sat there for about an hour now, so while I've been doing the other leg and the first bit I filmed that didn't work. So once you've done this, leave it for about a week, just to be safe. Treat it like an enamel or an oil paint. Now I would say as well, if you can, if you've got lots and lots of parts to do them in small batches. Because if you paint them all, I mean, these are all buffable within about 10 minutes. So if you paint like 100 parts and then you start buffing the first one, by the time you get to the last one, it's been like 3 hours. There's no guarantees you'll be able to buff it. So do them in batches. And I will tell you as well, yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 parts. And I used a whole pot of paint. It is super thin paint. It is really, really super thin paint. It will just come out your hair. Even on low pressure and with the dial set down, it will come out fast. So if you've got a lot of parts to paint, I would probably go out and buy a lot of pots of it, just to be safe. I was lucky and bought 2. I kind of planned ahead. But even 2, I don't know if that'll be enough, because I've still got the other parts that I've done to do, and I've got the shield and stuff to do and the gun things to do yet. But you can get some various colours. You can get, this is iron. There's also a dark iron, which is just a dark version of this. I think there's a steel. There's a gold and a silver. I'm interested to try the gold. Now, it's not going to give me a nice clean gold because I don't do clean. And it'll be hard to get a nice mirror finish surface anyway, but it'll be handy. But do bear in mind, if you've got any marks and sanding marks, it will show them up, as we can see there. It can look like a perfectly sanded surface to you with primer on. No, this will show it up. No, I don't mind because I want it to look a little used. So, there you go. This is the effect that we're asking for. That doesn't really come out on camera. And again, apologies, it doesn't really show on camera at all. So, I'll just see if I can change the focus once more. Now it's shiny. Try that. How's that? One sec. No, it's not really going to cooperate. This is the effect we're looking for anyway. So give them a try. As long as you've got a mask and a spray booth or somewhere to do it outside, give Mr. Colour Metal a go. I can't make any promises they won't just come off the model. Ideally, I wouldn't try masking over this because it will probably just pull it off. And I wouldn't try painting anything else over the top. So if you've got, say, a part that you want to be this bare metal colour and then a part that you want to be, I don't know, blue or something, yeah, do the blue bit first, because if you mask off on this, there's no guarantee it won't pull the paint off, and then there's no guarantee that the paint you put over the top won't react with this if this isn't fully cured. So to be safe, keep it away from other paints, do it in batches, try and avoid having to mask off. And if you can, just keep it to parts of your model, unlike me with a hinge there. Hinge. Try and use it, best used on parts of the model that aren't really going to get touched or moved, like, you know, weapons and things like that. But yeah, that's going to do us for now. So I'll go off and finish the rest of these. And when we come back in the next episode, in a little one today, when we come back in the next episode, these will have all been done. Dazzle. That's my anime shine noise. I'm trying to make this noise, but I'm not very good at it with my mouth. I'll get all these done, and when we come back we will most likely crack on with the main armour base colour painting. So thank you so much for watching as always. Take care of yourselves. Stay tuned for more of this. I'm trying to think what any other messages I needed to say. No. Yeah, just thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Send me pictures of your work, because as you saw today, or today my time, I posted up a video of, you know, a reader's gallery thing video. I realised that I've got like 5,000 messages with images on, and if I post them all on the Facebook page, I'll just break Facebook. So what I'm doing instead is just collecting them together and then doing a video every now and then with a load of them on. Don't worry if, because I get so many messages, what I'm going to do is the ones where it's just somebody sending me a picture saying, hey, look at what I built. Don't be offended if I don't reply. I'm just going to keep those to one side, and then when I get enough for a video, I'll put a video together. I can't reply to every single message when it's that, because I just don't have the time, unfortunately. Most of my messages are people asking for help and advice, and I focus on those. I will look at the message and I'll see what you say, obviously, because if there may be a question in there that you want me to answer, advice or help wise. But yeah, send me your pictures regardless. If you don't get a reply from me, don't be offended. I will post them up on a video. I'm going to stop posting them so much on the Facebook page because I'm just swamping the Facebook page, and people are getting fed up of it popping up in the feed. I'll probably still do some that amaze me, but just not all of them. So yes, take care of yourself. Send me your pictures. Don't forget to enter the Winner Bear Guy family competition on the Facebook page, facebook.com/modelmakingguru. You know the address by now. Das ist richtig. Somebody told me they love the fact I do silly fake German accent in my videos. I forget your name, I do apologise. So I shall remember to do more now from the future. Yeah, das ist richtig. Yeah. It's not a very good German accent. But yes, go and have fun building things. Go and make things. And if you do decide to use these lacquer paints, model safely. Mask, spray booth, open windows. Well, that's going to do us. I will go off and finish the rest of these. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And as always, adios amoebas.